I'm pleased to introduce our next presenters who will be presenting on the topic, how EdCamp Ukraine affects the lives of teachers, students, and parents in the times of war. We have two presenters. The first is Dr. Oleksandr Elkin, head of the board and inspirer of EdCamp Ukraine, a strong 40,000 person teachers professional development community. He has a solid academic foundation with a PhD in technical sciences, MA degree in computer sciences, and MA in economics and entrepreneurship. Dr. Elkin has had 15 plus years of management experience in education, IT, and nonprofits, having written more than 50 research articles, patents, and educational publications. Between 2016 and 2020, he was serving as an advisor to 3 ministers of education and science of Ukraine, and is a member of the 2 cohorts of Public Council of the Ministry. In 2021, Dr. Elkin became a member of the Presidential Advisory Council on promoting the development of the general secondary education system. And in 2022, he became an expert of Secondary Education Working Group for the National Council for the Recovery of Ukraine from the War. As a co-author of the new Ukrainian school concept and state standards, Oleksandr is currently participating in initiatives aimed at reforming secondary education. He supervised the implementation of a non-discriminatory expertise for textbooks and school programs, promoting integrity tools among schools and institutional research to improve teacher professional development and reduce bureaucratization at schools. He was instrumental in the demonopolization reform of teachers' professional development and the launch of the EdWay innovative platform designed to support the reform. Dr. Elkin has been advocating social and emotional learning with Emory University's C learning program in the Ukraine. In 2021, Dr. Elkin was ranked among the 100 most influential Ukrainians, according to Focus magazine, and named Ukrainian Prometheus in education by NV Media. Our second presenter is Anna Yefimtseva. Anna has been with EdCamp Ukraine for 2 years, bringing her expertise as a psychologist to the EdCamp Ukraine team projects. Before being a methodologist at EdCamp Ukraine, Anna graduated with a degree in psychology from Kharkiv HS Skovoroda National Pedagogical University and worked as a school counselor for more than 10 years. This gave her invaluable experience and enabled her to address a variety of issues children face at school. A special place in Anna's work belongs to non-discrimination in education. She is getting her PhD from Kharkiv Humanitarian and Pedagogical Academy, focusing on researching discrimination in education. Anna is a certified expert and trainer on non-discrimination in education and a member of the Expert Commission for Anti-Discrimination Expertise at the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. She is also deeply involved in inclusive education, and she has been working with children with special needs in a children's rehabilitation center in Kharkiv for 5 years. Please give a warm welcome to this team.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, colleagues. I have a feeling of my face getting red from this long introduction and sharing all our background. Dr. Gerard, Sheena, colleagues, it's really a great honor and pleasure for us to be here today to share the story of bravery in Ukrainian education and share the spirit of Ukrainian people and the story of our organization with the emphasis of what we are doing to strengthen resiliency, to teach social emotional skills, and give a psychological support. We have prepared some slides for you to follow our story, but before that, I want to start maybe emotionally and say that I dressed a special t-shirt for today. On me, I'm not sure you can see, but I will read the label here. It's written 100% Kharkiv. Kharkiv is our native city, the native city of actually 3 presenters of this talk. You know Anna and me. Also, we have here Natalia. Natalia will support us with interpretation, as we are not so fluent with English, and I hope for your understanding. Though I will try to continue doing it in English for your convenience. And we are all from Kharkiv. Kharkiv is also known as the first capital of Ukraine historically, and is quite close to the border with Russia, 40 kilometers. And we all became displaced, the whole team of ours, and now we stay in different parts of Ukraine, but we are continuing doing our job and investing efforts in supporting the education and the community we are inspiring. So, thanks to Brian, now I have a control of my presentation, and you hopefully can see the first slide. And we will concentrate on what we do in the times of war. When I start any presentation about EdCamp Ukraine, I always quote Margaret Mead, who is a very famous US anthropologist. And I'm sure you know these words of hers. Why I'm quoting them? Because I believe that EdCamp as an idea, which originated 11 years ago in the States, is a fantastic and practical illustration to what you can see on this slide. The story of EdCamp International Family started with the meeting of 11 educators in Philadelphia. With a cup of tea and coffee, they were tackling the issue of ineffective teachers' professional development in their particularly community, which is actually a challenge for any country nowadays. And together they created an innovative format, peer-to-peer format, participative format of professional development called EdCamp. And from that moment, we also have a joke. It was before Corona that actually EdCamp is like a virus. The idea of EdCamp was spread in over 45 countries of the world. And we are very proud that in Ukraine, we are the second largest community after the country of founders. Our main idea is very simple, but hard to achieve. We try to unite Ukrainian educators and support them in their professional development. You know, if you ask Ukrainians about the exact moment, what they think when the war started, you will receive different answers. My answer to this question is that, unfortunately, we have a very long war story with Russia. For me, it started at least in 2014 with the Revolution of Dignity. And this was the very moment when we founded EdCamp. Here you can see a picture from the last offline EdCamp event in Ukraine in 2019, before Corona appeared. An EdCamp idea is like a game on the water with a stone. When you throw a stone, you can see several rings of change, several circles of influence. And the first one is about professional development itself and the principle of giving and getting from each other. I mentioned that EdCamp is a world-known format, and we are very proud that this practical idea is also among top 100 educational innovations worldwide, and was supported by Bill and Melinda Gates family in the very beginning. Currently, you know, when I say we have 40,000 educators in the community, Ukraine is quite a big country. We have over 17,000 schools, more than 450,000 teachers. So 40,000, it's of course a lot, but not the whole educational community. And then I mentioned an interesting fact of how EdCamp has grown through this time, because these 40,000 educators who are now doing a fantastic job on educational front, and we will talk about this later, they are representing every second school of our country. So our family is across all our regions. The second ring of change is about the fact that we are not just EdCamping. We are not just introducing different initiatives, but educators then bring this knowledge and experience to their classroom. And we have some analytic facts, both from the States, from Ukraine, and from other communities around the world, that over 80% of what educators experienced at our conferences, at our EdCamps, they then implement in classroom practice. Here you can read more about our Ukrainian organization, about our contribution to support of education in emergencies, both in COVID times and now in the wartime. What is also important for me to highlight today, and maybe invite you to support us in, is that EdCamp is playing an important role in creating a recovery plan for Ukraine in education. And now the first draft of this plan is published in free access, and together with your expertise, we can influence how the educational system will be answering these war challenges and how it will be transforming after the war ends. And we hope better earlier than later. The third ring of change is, of course, the community development and the leadership role of EdCamp participants. And here you can see the three parts of this secret recipe, why actually EdCamps around the world work and how they influence even the educational transformation on the level of policy. And Ukraine is a great example. Due to this internal expertise and the horizontal ties and connections and the discussion which is being generated at our events, we can do a lot. And a great example here could be the new Ukrainian school reform, which started in 2016, and EdCamp members became the co-authors of this important first concept, and then actually the practically implementing reform, which is actually a reform for a decade, a competence-based reform. The fourth thing about us is actually about this change on the policy level and how EdCamp is being a grassroots movement. The people who are responsible for decisions to listen carefully to what community thinks. This is a very important slide for all of us because it shares some of the feedback we are receiving from Ukrainian EdCampers. I then share a presentation for you, and you will be able to read this code and see the illustrations to the so-called long tail effect. As we say, the most important things are happening actually right after EdCamps, when teachers come back to their communities, when they start within this golden triangle idea, where we have teachers, where we have parents, where we have administrators to support students in their successes. And you will be able to watch video stories of EdCampers, including the ones which were recorded in the war times. This is a simple illustration of what we are doing in EdCamp, and actually to demonstrate how war influenced our activities. On this slide, we would like to acquaint you with some war statistics and war facts. Sorry for this pause, because for me it's even hard to read all these figures. They are dynamically changing, and I'm not sure that we have the very fresh information about the current situation, but you can see the situation first with people, with their relocation, with their lives, and also what is happening with buildings, with school facilities, and the situation actually among teachers' community. It's hard. When I'm invited to talk about war in Ukraine, about the face of massive invasion of Russia to Ukraine, which started on February 24th, for me it's important to emphasize that this war has the lessons for everybody. It has the lessons first for Ukrainian people, but it has the lessons for humanity as well. And all of us can learn from this. This was our life before the war. And some of our activities we were implementing in Ukraine. I want just to bring your attention to the mentioned social, emotional, and ethical learning program, which we started implementing in 2019 and advocating the importance of soft skills development, of attention regulation, on resiliency, on emotional regulation. It was very hard before the war for us to deliver the message that this kind of programs, and this particular created by the Emory University, is important in our current educational system. And the lesson we've learned with the first day of invasion, and we were approached by many people, actually, also, as far as I understand, we were invited to disaster shock meeting by Brian's team, and that was the place of where our conversation started. It's because we have this program in Ukraine, and we have first fantastic results within the national experiment we are doing for the third year across all regions. From this list of initiatives, not all of them survived due to the war, but we started implementing the new ones. And here is a moment where I would like to pass the floor to Anna for her to talk more as our methodologist and concentrate on the topic of the symposium and share what we are doing in our realities now. Anna?
Дякую, Олександр. Я вітаю всіх, і ми можемо розпочинати. Допомагати мені буде наша чарівна і надпрофесійна перекладачка Наталія Валевська. Наталя.
So hi everyone, Anna is taking the floor from Oleksandr. My name is Natalia and I'm going to be interpreting for her today. And Anna is saying that she's happy to see everyone and we can proceed to the programs of EdCamp.
І я хочу зупинитись на результатах інших досліджень, керуючись якими ми приймали рішення про свою роботу саме в часи кризи.
So Anna would like to talk about some research data that they used in order to make decisions which programs should be introduced at the times of war.
В часи війни особливо потерпають діти. І результати досліджень зміни в житті дітей під час війни, яке було проведено в квітні цього року, свідчить про наступне.
So kids are the group that is most affected at the times of the war. And in April of this year, there was a research conducted which provided the following results.
У 50% дітей значно погіршилась стан психічного здоров'я. 41% говорять про те, що вони відчувають постійну тривогу. 29% говорять про те, що мають депривацію сну. І 16% про погіршення уваги та неможливість повернутися до навчання.
So 50% of the children who were polled, they said about deterioration in their mental health. 41% of the kids said they had constant levels of high anxiety. 29% of the kids said they had sleep deprivation, and 16% of the kids reported they had problems with attention, with focusing, and that they could not get back to learning.
А з війни загострилась потреба також у всебічній соціальній та психологічній, психоемоційній підтримці. Саме про це говорила перша леді України Олена Зеленська на Всесвітній асамблеї охорони здоров'я в травні цього року. Також вона говорила про необхідність інтеграції, а саме психологічної допомоги в усі сфери життя в Україні після та під час війни.
So the most acute need that the kids currently have is a comprehensive psychological and mental health support. And this is what Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, addressed during the World Health Assembly in May this year. And she also spoke about the need of introducing this mental health support programs into all areas of the recovery programs.
Дослідження, яке провело Міністерство освіти і науки України, свідчить про те, що вчителі та вчительки вважають травмоорієнтоване навчання одним з пріоритетів в своєму професійному розвитку.
The research conducted by the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine also said that teachers consider trauma-informed skills and programs to be the #1 priority in their professional development.
Наразі в Україні майже 15 тисяч шкіл, в яких навчається приблизно 4,5 мільйони учнів і працює близько 430 тисяч освітян.
Currently, Ukraine has 15,000 schools with 4.5 million students studying in them and 430,000 teachers.
Діти, батьки та вчителі потрапили в дуже різні умови. Багато сімей були розлучені, адже дітей вивозили в більш безпечні регіони. Діти та дорослі бачили жахи окупації, бачили смерть, бачили небезпеку дуже близько до себе. Багато хто відчуває страх перед майбутнім, адже неможливо сконцентруватись на тому, що відбувається зараз, і неможливо планувати своє майбутнє в умовах війни, в умовах невизначеності.
So kids, parents, and teachers currently face very different and difficult challenges. Many families have been separated due to the war because people would evacuate their children to safer places. Many children and adults as well have seen and witnessed lots of death and threats and shelling. And many have fear of the future with its uncertainty when they have no ideas about the future and no possibility to plan anything for certain.
І ми розуміємо, наскільки важлива психологічна підтримка всіх в цих умовах, але, на жаль, також ми знаємо про те, що ресурсів наразі для цього недостатньо.
Therefore, we know how important psychological support is amid these conditions, but we also are aware that the resources are not enough for that.
І я попрошу наступний слайд. Олександра, дякую. Тому EdCamp Ukraine запровадив так звані антикризові ініціативи, про які ми зараз з вами поговоримо. І зупинитись я хочу на першій ініціативі – це відкритий простір стійкості. Це цикл вебінару. Наталя, вибач.
Дякую. So Anna is about to talk about anti-crisis initiatives that were launched to counter the war and to support educators amid the war. And the first one she is going to talk about is the Open Resiliency Space Project.
І так, це відкритий простір стійкості, це цикл вебінарів, які ми проводимо ще з другого дня війни і на які проводити нам допомагають терапевти та терапевти з Американського інституту вивчення травми.
The Open Resiliency Space is a series of webinars that launched on February 25th, the second day of the full-scale invasion, and they are held together with therapists from the Trauma Resource Institute from the United States.
Кожен та кожна може поставити запитання терапевтам та терапевткам і отримати фахову відповідь. Ми ретельно на кожному вебінарі розбираємо, як працює нервова система, що може власна людина зробити для того, щоб бути в зоні благополуччя самому, а також допомогти близьким, хто знаходиться поруч.
Anyone can pose a question during these open resiliency spaces and receive an expert response and suggestions on how to deal with trauma and other issues. And during every session, we receive explanations on how our nervous system works and what a person can do to help themselves amid the crisis or amid the war, and also how to help others.
Ми вважаємо, що маючи ці навички, педагоги зможуть допомогти собі, допомогти дітям, коли розпочнеться навчання. І в разі, якщо немає можливості отримати фахову психологічну допомогу, стати таким собі кризовим центром в своєму закладі освіти.
So we believe that teachers can find these skills very useful because using them, they can help themselves, they can help their students as the school year starts. And if they don't have an opportunity to get a professional psychotherapy help, they can become some crisis centers on their own in their schools or communities.
Наступний пункт – це послання надії. Відомі люди з усього світу посилають відеоповідомлення зі словами підтримки для українців і України.
The next initiative is called Messages of Hope. We have celebrities from all over the world recording their messages of hope for Ukrainians.
Серед них 73-й прем'єр-міністр Великої Британії Тоні Блер, відома психотерапевтка, яка пройшла жахіття концтаборів Едіт Єва Егер, яка допомагає і до цього часу допомагає багатьом людям. Керівник міжнародної програми з оцінювання освітніх досягнень учнівства Андреас Шляхер і багато інших.
Yeah, these people, the people who actually recorded those messages include Great Britain's 73rd Prime Minister Tony Blair, Dr. Edith Eger, who is herself Holocaust survivor and who continues helping people with various psychotherapeutic issues, and Andreas Schleicher, who is the chief of the International Program for Education Assessment.
Ми називаємо ці меседжі послання надії, адже вони допомагають нам краще відчути вашу підтримку і вірити в нашу перемогу і відчувати спільність з усім людством в своїй боротьбі.
We call them messages of hope, these short videos, because they allow us to better feel the support from all around the world and to believe stronger in our victory and sense this shared humanity that we all have.
І ми хочемо подякувати Disaster Shock за чудові матеріали українською мовою, з якими ми мали можливість познайомити наших освітян в рамках наступного напрямку роботи, матеріали з чутливих тем та зустрічі з відомими освітянами.
Аня, я перепрошую, не зовсім зрозуміла, кому ми хотіли подякувати.
Disaster Shock – це освітня організація.
Okay. So Anya also said that EdCamp is very grateful to Disaster Shock organization for assisting with Ukrainian translation or providing materials for Ukrainian translation for the next item on this list, the themed expert meetings on sensitive topics.
Вже з березня ми ініціювали роботу EdCamp Academy для учнівства і учительства, а також для батьківства, а з червня роботу EdCamp табору «Розумне літо».
Since March, the EdCamp Academy for students, teachers, and parents has been launched and ongoing. And in June, the EdCamp Smart Summer Camp started online.
Серед інших освітніх завдань, які ми перед собою ставили, було також завдання психологічної підтримки учасників і учасниць цих програм.
One of the tasks that we had was to provide psychological support for participants of all these programs.
Заняття з дітьми проводили відомі фахові арт-терапевтки.
EdCamp involved prominent and very professional art therapists to give classes to the kids.
Дорослі могли відвідати ресурсні зустрічі зранку та ввечері і не тільки отримати ресурс самостійно, а ще й навчитись, як це робити, коли ти працюєш в класі, працюєш з дітьми.
And adults could join resourceful sessions in the mornings and in the evenings, and not only find their own resources, but also learn how to create resources and use them when working in the class or with kids.
Окрему увагу ми приділяли інклюзивній освіті, і ці зустрічі, консультативні зустрічі з інклюзивної освіти також мають велику популярність серед освітян.
Inclusive education has also been paid a lot of attention in these meetings that include these topics about inclusive education. They are also very popular with educators.
А зараз працюють в рамках EdCamp табору, працюють 7 програм підвищення кваліфікації, які проводять фахові психологині, навчаючи освітян основам психологічної самодопомоги.
Within this camp program, there are 7 directions of professional development for educators, and all of them are taught by professional psychologists who teach teachers how to help themselves in terms of mental health.
А наприкінці серпня розпочнеться навчання за моделлю стійкості спільнот спільно з Американським інститутом травми. Це чудова модель, яка допомагає зберегти благополуччя нервової системи і удосконалювати свої вміння щодо збереження власного психічного здоров'я.
In late August, we are launching another initiative, the Community Resiliency Model training together with the Trauma Resource Institute. And this is a great model that teaches everyone how to support their mental health, how to strengthen their resiliency and the sense of well-being.
Щодо навчання англійській мові разом з Hello, це тут не випадково, адже ми вважаємо, що мати можливість спілкуватися з людьми по всьому світі, не маючи мовних бар'єрів, це теж складова психічного здоров'я.
The Smart English with Halo application is here in this list for a reason, because in EdCamp we believe that being able to communicate with people all around the world is also a very important part of being mentally healthy.
Ну і, звісно, війна підсилила дуже багато протиріч, на нейтралізацію та розв'язання яких спрямований проєкт воєнні лінії розгрому, чи можна зшити.
The war, of course, has polarized the society in many different dimensions and directions. And the War Fault Lines initiative, Can We Sue Them Together, is aimed at exactly trying to address this very issue.
І окремо варто зупинитись на проєкті «Моя війна. Уроки». Я попрошу наступний слайд.
Давайте я тоді його прокоментую. Так.
Дозвольте мені перекласти ще цю останню фразу. So Anna said that my war lessons for Ukrainian Humanity Initiative is worth a separate comment, and Oleksandr is going to do just that.
I'm jumping in to mention once again this idea about the lessons we all can learn in Ukraine and from Ukraine. And this is actually the title of our supporting campaign about and for educators in our country. And within this campaign, we aimed to demonstrate the heroism of our educators on the frontier. I mention here not only the efforts in continuing their job and teaching in very hard conditions, sometimes from the underground, from shelters, from being abroad, from the places where they are displaced, but not only limited to this, because educators are also the leaders in their communities. They are serving the people around them. They are taking care about internally displaced people in the current period. They are supporting our territorial defense and the army. And these interviews, which are available not only in Ukrainian, but also in English, you can read and look at the illustrations from their current life, and also support the crowdfunding part of this campaign. We have analyzed and conducted a survey and a focus group with our community members to find out the priority professional needs. And with this campaign, we want to support educators in Ukraine with technology kits to continue the educational process, and with the hours of individual psychotherapy support. We're asking you to learn more about this initiative, about the lessons, and to spread the word about the real situation in education in Ukraine, and share the story among your friends and colleagues. We would like to you to meet Irina. Irina is an EdCamper, and she's from Stanitsa Luganska. It's a small community in Luhansk area, which before the massive invasion was a Ukrainian territory, and now it is occupied. Irina and her peer educators and students are staying there, and she has a dream that one day we will be able to conduct EdCamps not only in Kharkiv and Odessa, but also in her native Stanitsa Luhanska, in Luhansk itself and Donetsk, in Yalta and other cities of Crimea. This was the last slide of our talk prepared for you. I would like to thank you for your attention, and we would like to answer your questions you have.
Thank you.